Hi, creative friends. This is Freya, and thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to work on this. I'm so in love with this, you guys. I'm going to work on this collage today, and I am going to talk about something that I have been working on in my studio log for the past, I want to say a week or so, and that is doing a deep dive into how collage reflects our deeper workings of our psyche, if you will. So this is where we get into the rich world of Jungian psychology, Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, our collective unconscious, our subconscious, all of those things. And I am going to try to make this video as engaging, yet also as simple as possible, because these are, broad, deep, subjective concepts. And so while I work, I am going to be talking. I do have some notes that I pinned up on my window, but I'm just going to, work and talk and hopefully be able to convey what I have been working on in my studio log. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm using my Posca marker, and I really love a lot of these lines here, so I'm just going to go over them and even keep some of this to below, but just bring some of this, just bring it into the forefront so it just pops a little bit more. So the very first thing I want to preface my video by saying is that, this is all very subjective and art is subjective, but now when we're talking about the collective unconscious and just the deeper layers of healing and our subconscious minds and, all of these things, it is so deeply personal. So take what you will and leave the rest. This is not, for everybody. So at a deeper symbolic level, collage is a visual metaphor for the psyche itself. That's one of the things that really came up for me in my studio log, is that collage is a visual representation, if you will, of the very psyche, because it's fragmented, yet it's also integrative. So what that means to me is, our psyche is not a it's not a like a solid cohesive thing, if you will. It's got layers and it's got all these different fragments, and it is just it's multilingual. It comes from, this place and that place. It comes from different times. It comes from our childhood. It comes from yesterday. It comes from our future selves. It comes from our ancestry. It comes from a million and different places and things and memories and experiences. So it is fragmented, yet simultaneously it is also integrative. It also comes together like puzzle pieces. And it's like, I tend to think of it as like a moving puzzle. It's not a static puzzle. So, like puzzles that you buy, you put the puzzle together and, it kind of stays that way. But I tend to think of our psyche as like a puzzle that's constantly in motion. It's constantly moving. So instead of having like one image of, you put all the puzzle pieces together and you create the image of whatever it is, it's like you're constantly, taking things out, putting things back, and the picture is always moving. And that's one of the visual images that came to me when I was writing in my studio log. So it was just very helpful for me to look at it that way. Collage is also chaotic, yet it is meaningful. It is subconscious, yet it's also able to emerge into a conscious clarity. So it is both a mirror and a map of personal and collective transformation. Now, that's a lot of stuff for, collage to do, but I find that it holds true, because, when you're picking things to use as your collage, you are being drawn to certain things for a reason. It's part of your visual language. It reminds you of something. And even say if something repels you, it might still be interesting, curious. And to me, ugly is beautiful. I love ugly. Ugly makes me look at it closer. Ugly makes me examine things. Ugly gives me an entry point into other perspectives. So I personally, I love ugly. Ugly is just so ridiculously beautiful. I don't want that like cookie cutter pretty. That's just me. Anyways, now this is obviously, not a limited way that collage speaks to our psyche and the deeper layers of, the collective unconscious and all of these things. But I put it down into 5 points because I just feel like, that's kind of, like a doable kind of a video. But it's a work in progress. I'm still learning, I'm still diving deeper, so I'm sure I'm going to come up with a lot more stuff. So number one is collage is the language of the unconscious. So you know how in dreams and memories, fantasies, daydreams, etc., our mind often jumps between images and ideas without linear logic. So like 1 minute you can be a bird flying in the sky, like say in a dream, and then the next minute you're like a completely different thing in a different time, and it all like it makes sense in the dream, like it's all possible. Well, collage can be like that. It mirrors this process of fragmented, symbolic, intuitive. Collage is like a visual representation of, say, our dreams. And symbolically, it speaks to the hidden aspects of the psyche, and it becomes a doorway and a portal to hidden aspects of ourselves, other worlds, our subconscious mind, the collective unconscious. And we can access all of those things through collage. So collage allows us to bring all of these things or aspects of these things into our art and into our conscious awareness. And, I'm going to talk about my healing ancestral trauma art journal, for instance. It was collage that really not only told me that, you know what, this journal is going to be something deeper. It's about healing my ancestral trauma. That journal did not start off that way, but it was collage that alerted me to, hey, there's something deeper going on here. It was also collage that told me so many different things. Like one of the images, and I talked about this in a video I made about my healing ancestral trauma art journal. One of my images, I had kind of made the body of the woman as like a coffin, and because I had collage on that image, it told me that, you know what, these are the women in my ancestry line. So collage just gives us so much information, and it's like a portal and a doorway. And if we allow ourselves the freedom to be open-minded and to use collage as an entry point, we can like access so many different layers of our psyche. Number two, transformation through recombination. So what I mean by that is by taking old discarded or unrelated elements, we can create something completely new. And I see this a lot when I use, like say junk mail, or I make my junk journals. I'm taking things that would just get chucked out. It's, other people would look at it as garbage, and I am making something really valuable, something completely new out of it. And actually, in an art journal I got published a few months ago, that was exactly the process. And even though I didn't do it consciously, in retrospect, I put the pieces together and I was like, hey, I am taking all these little bits and pieces of things and I am constructing something new from them. So in that way, we can create something completely new, and it's like alchemy. It's magic. It's personal transformation. So symbolically, Collage says meaning can be born from chaos, and the discarded can become essential. And as Dr. Clarissa Pinkola SD says, the gold is in the dross. So what does that mean? It means that, we can find meaning in the things that people discard, garbage. We can take that. That's where the gold is if we know how to look, if we know how to value it, if we allow ourselves the freedom, that kind of the the humility to be open to whatever presents itself to us. And in this way, it mirrors psychological growth because it turns scattered experiences into insight and coherence. So when we look at, the people that we are, it's not just one thing that has created us. It's a myriad of things. And, it would be impossible to kind of go, oh, I am this way because XYZ. It's so many different things that construct our identity. And I think in this way, collage comes really close to like us putting little bits and pieces together and forming a whole picture. Number 3, juxtaposition as inner dialogue. Now, I talked about juxtaposition in practical reasons to use collage, but this is like going a layer deeper, many layers deeper. So collage physically embodies fragmentation, but it produces a new unity. So what I mean by that is symbolically, it reflects identity as layered, multifaceted, and it's not static. Your identity is not a static thing. It is constantly moving, changing, evolving. And it shows us that wholeness emerges from assembling diverse parts of ourselves and our experiences. And this is perfect, you guys, for healing, trauma work, integrating past experiences, etc. And so collage becomes a powerful tool, and it's like medicine. It's magic, it's so incredible how we can use collage in these ways. And I'm just exploring it right now in a deeper way. And I think that my Healing Ancestral Trauma Art Journal is the perfect segue for that, because it really healed so much in me. And it's a work in progress. It's not a static thing. It's like every time I work in it, I'm getting something new out of it. I'm getting just tons and tons of new information, healing. It's just incredible, you guys. And I'm still like figuring it out. So I'm going to leave that there. Okay, number 5. So time and memory. I think that collage kind of mirrors that in tactile form, because you can take old photos, magazine cuttings, newspaper clippings, textures, text, etc., and you can evoke specific moments, eras, emotions, experiences. And collage shows us that the past, the present, and the future can coexist and interact. Now I'm just gonna show you this over here. So in this Healing Ancestral Trauma Art Journal, I have things, images that are, I would say, my ancestry line of ancestors that I have never met. Like not even the past of my childhood, but like the past that I don't even know. So it's like way, way, way past, timeless. So now I'm going into the collective unconscious, cultural, societal aspects, just memories and information, knowledge that has been embedded in my psyche, in my body, through my lineage. I've been able to access that through working in this journal, but it also has the present and it also has the future because, there are images in here that, are about my daughter and, descendants of mine that I will never meet probably, so it shows us how the past and the present and the future, they can all coexist and they can interact with each other. And it speaks to how memory shapes perception, how meaning is constructed across layers of time and experience. And this is where I think I am going to be exploring more of. I'm so interested in this aspect of collage, and I hope that this has just been a an interesting entry point into how you can use collage. And like I said, you know, this is not a one size fits all. So even if there's like one aspect of it that you might want to explore, or you might want to modify it, or you might want to take like just a little sliver of something, and make it your own, because these are seeds. And you know, who knows what they're gonna, who knows what they're gonna bring forth into the world. So anyways, you guys, I don't want to ramble on too much, but I hope that this video has been helpful. I hope it has given you food for thought, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.